There comes a point in every life when the silence around you feels heavy, when doors seem locked, when people overlook you, and when nothing on the outside matches the fire burning within. It is during these quiet, hidden seasons that many begin to doubt their worth, their progress, and their purpose. But hear this truth clearly. The private place is not a punishment. The private place is a training ground. The private place is where God shapes those he trusts. When everything seems still on the surface, God is working beneath it. When it feels like your voice is unheard, God is sharpening it. When you think you're buried, God is planting you. What seems like isolation is divine preparation. What seems like delay is strategic timing. What seems like silence is God building a blessing so immense it needs privacy to grow. Some of the greatest breakthroughs begin in seasons when nothing seems to be happening. You may feel the world has forgotten you, but God has not. You may think your prayers are bouncing back at you, but they are not. You may believe you're standing still, but you're not. You are being prepared for something beyond your current capability. God is developing strength in you that can't be formed in the crowd. God is laying a foundation in you that must be set before the weight of your blessing arrives. God is shielding you from premature exposure. What he is shaping is too valuable, too rare, and too powerful to be revealed before its time. God is not hiding you, he is refining you. There are times when God closes every door, not because there is no future for you, but because the wrong people stand behind them. There are seasons when he pulls you away from noise, distraction, and chaos, because your ears need to learn the sound of his guidance without interference. There are moments when he removes the things you leaned on, not to weaken you, but to show you that your strength must come from him alone. You might feel like you're losing connections, opportunities, and time, but in reality you're gaining clarity, purpose, and divine alignment. God is arranging everything with deliberate precision. Nothing in your private season is wasted. Many desire the blessing but not the shaping. They want elevation but not discipline. They desire public honor but not the private pruning. God trains those he trusts, and he does it where no one can see. In the quiet moments he confronts your fears. In the hidden seasons he strengthens your character. In the private place he removes pride, anger, impatience, and doubt. God prepares you in private so that when he places you in public, nothing will shake you. He works on the foundation so the blessing will not falter. He roots you deeply so your future will stand strong. You may look around and feel that nothing in your life reflects the promise God placed in your spirit. But remember, the seed never looks like the tree. The cocoon never resembles the butterfly. The training ground rarely resembles the platform. Private seasons seldom appear like destiny, yet they are where it is birthed. You are in a chapter that does not reflect the conclusion, but it is essential for you to reach that conclusion. Do not confuse preparation with abandonment. Do not confuse silence with distance. Do not confuse delay with denial. God is preparing you for something greater than what you have prayed for. God is equipping you for a blessing that will not fit in the life you once lived. God is readying you for a moment that will change your story. Private seasons reveal what your public destiny demands. If God is teaching you patience right now, it is because your future requires patience. If he is strengthening your faith right now, it is because your future requires faith. If he is removing you from certain environments, it is because your destiny cannot thrive in that soil. Every part of this season has purpose. Every hardship is a lesson. Every setback is redirection. Every unanswered question is shaping. God wastes nothing. Not the tears, the confusion, nor the waiting. Everything is a tool in his hands to prepare you for the blessing he has set aside for you. And that blessing will not be ordinary. It will not be small. It will not be silent. It will not be something you can hide or keep to yourself. It will be a blessing that reveals the depth of God's faithfulness. It will be a blessing that shows why the waiting was necessary. It will be a blessing that demonstrates to the world that the private season was not a setback, but a setup. God is preparing something for you that must be revealed publicly, and only after he has refined you privately. When he lifts you, it will be undeniable that his hand is upon you. When he favors you, people will see the difference. When he opens the door, no one will question who opened it. Some of you are in a season where you feel stripped to your core. You lost friendships you thought would last forever. You lost opportunities you counted on. You lost confidence. You lost direction. You lost the feeling of momentum. But sometimes God has to clear the stage before revealing what he is about to place there. Sometimes God removes what you think you need so he can show you what you actually need. Sometimes he takes you through quiet valleys to strengthen your voice for the mountains. Your losses are not the end. They are the rearranging. They are the pruning. They are the clearing of space for what is coming. Many ask for elevation, but resist the process that produces it. They desire strength without pressure. They seek wisdom without experience. They want blessing without responsibility. But God's training is precise. He teaches you through experiences that shape your heart. He teaches you through battles that sharpen your focus. He teaches you through discomfort that builds resilience. He teaches you through seasons that force you to depend on him in ways you never have before. And when God is your teacher, the lessons may be heavy, but they carry eternal value. They prepare you for stages you're not ready for yet. They prepare you for assignments you can't imagine yet. They prepare you for blessings you can't handle yet. You may not see progress, but your spirit is expanding. You may not notice change, but your roots are deepening. You may not feel strong, but strength is emerging. You may not see signs, but your path is being cleared. What God builds in private is far more important than anything people celebrate in public. God is not concerned with appearances. God is focused on substance. God is not developing your image. God is developing your endurance. God is not worried about impressing others. God is concerned with shaping your soul. He is working on the parts of you that no one sees, because those are the parts that determine the strength of what he will reveal later. He has been protecting you from rooms you thought you wanted to enter. He has been holding you back from connections that would have harmed your future. He has been closing doors that would have steered you off course. And because you didn't understand it, you called it delay. But it was protection. It was mercy. It was rearrangement. God is not keeping you small. He is keeping you safe until the right moment comes. And when that moment arrives, every door he kept shut will make sense. Every relationship he removed will make sense. Every painful transition will make sense. Every quiet season will make sense. There are times when God lets you walk through life unseen, unheard, and underestimated, because he is building a strength in you that doesn't need applause to grow. There is a kind of power that only develops in silence. There is a kind of wisdom that only matures in stillness. There is a kind of maturity that only appears when no one is watching. God is not preparing you for a moment of attention. He is preparing you for a lifetime of purpose. And purpose cannot be built with noise. Purpose must be carved in the quiet places where your heart, thoughts, and faith learn to stand on their own. Private training produces warriors who cannot be shaken. Private shaping produces leaders who do not crumble under pressure. Private refinement produces voices that carry authority because they have walked through fire with God and learned to trust His hand even when nothing made sense. You may be in a place right now where you feel misunderstood. You may be surrounded by people who cannot see what God is doing in your life. You may feel like you're living beneath your potential, working jobs that don't reflect your gift, carrying dreams that feel too heavy for your present reality. But don't despise the season you're in. God often places you in environments that don't match your destiny because He is teaching you to thrive through discipline rather than attention. He teaches you to rely on Him when the environment is uncomfortable. He teaches you to grow even when the soil feels unfamiliar. He teaches you to rise above what your eyes see and trust what your spirit knows. God is training you in places you didn't choose so He can take you to places you cannot reach on your own. The people around you may not understand your calling. They may not see the depth of your potential. They may misinterpret your silence or question your slow progress, but their understanding is irrelevant. God did not give them your vision. God did not place in their spirit what He placed in yours. God does not need their approval for the path you are walking. He only needs you to stay faithful. Private preparation does not require public approval. The path God has for you is designed for your future. It is fine-tuned to your destiny. It is intended to grow you into someone who can carry what you have prayed for. The blessing God is preparing for you cannot rest on a weak foundation. That's why He is strengthening what others overlook. There are seasons when God removes distractions so you can hear Him clearly. Not because He is distant, but because He is near. His closeness becomes clearer in silence. His voice becomes sharper when the noise of the world fades away. His direction becomes unmistakable when you learn to listen with your spirit rather than your emotions. God is shaping you through moments that teach you how to recognize Him, how to follow Him, and how to trust Him even when the path takes unexpected turns. You are not wandering. You are being guided. You are not forgotten. You are being positioned. You are not stagnant. You are being prepared for something that will require every lesson you are learning right now. Some of the most significant breakthroughs in life are born from discomfort. Growth rarely happens in comfort. Transformation rarely happens in convenience. God often stretches you beyond what feels safe because He is increasing your capacity. He allows you to step into seasons that reveal what needs strengthening, what needs surrendering, and what needs rebuilding. There are parts of you that cannot grow unless pressure is applied. There are gifts within you that cannot emerge until you are pushed. There is courage in you that will never surface until fear tries to hold you back. God is not stretching you to break you. God is stretching you to expand you. You may not realize it, but right now God is teaching you how to handle responsibility. He is teaching you how to steward favor. He is teaching you how to carry influence with humility. He is teaching you how to respond to challenges with wisdom instead of frustration. These lessons are not given in public. They are taught in the quiet moments when the world is not watching. God exposes you to small tests so you can handle big blessings. He refines your responses now so your character won't undermine your future later. He builds discipline when no one notices, so you can stand firm when everyone is watching. Some of you have been wondering why certain relationships ended, why certain doors closed, why certain people walked away, why certain opportunities vanished. But what you call loss, God calls alignment. What you call disappointment, God calls redirection. What you call loneliness, God calls focus. He removes the temporary to make space for the permanent. He clears the distractions so you can see the path more clearly. He disconnects you from people who would hinder your growth, because where God is taking you, not everyone can follow. In private seasons, God often tests your heart. He tests your motives. He tests your intentions. He tests whether you seek approval or seek Him. He tests whether you trust your circumstances or trust His word. These tests are not meant to discourage you, but to strengthen you. A blessing that comes without preparation becomes a burden. A position that comes without character becomes a trap. A breakthrough that comes without wisdom becomes chaos. God prepares what He gives, and He prepares who He gives it to. For your blessing to elevate your life and not destroy your stability, He must refine you until you are ready to stand in the fullness of what He releases. You may not see the shift happening yet, but your spirit feels the stirring. Something in you knows that this is not the final chapter. You can sense that something is building, forming, aligning and assembling behind the scenes. That is the whisper of destiny. That is the pull of purpose. That is the sign that your private season is not permanent. It is transitional. God does not keep you in preparation forever. He keeps you there until the work is finished, until the lesson is learned, until the strength is built. Once He completes the shaping, the revealing follows. And when God reveals what He has prepared for you, it will not be subtle. It will not be small. It will not be quiet. It will be a blessing that speaks loudly of His power. It will be a moment that shifts the atmosphere around you. It will be an opportunity that no person can block. It will be a breakthrough that makes every tear worth it. It will be favor that reaches into places you never thought possible. But you must endure the private season. You must trust the unseen work. You must hold on when nothing makes sense. What God is planning for you is too great to be built quickly. It requires depth. It requires patience. It requires trust. There are days when you feel drained from waiting. Days when you are tired of believing for something you cannot see. Days when you wonder if your prayers are making a difference. But do not grow weary. Private training often feels like battling shadows. But every day you endure, you grow. Every day you remain faithful. You strengthen the bond between you and God. Every day you choose hope instead of despair. Your spirit is fortified. God sees the days you push through exhaustion. God sees the nights you cry quietly. God sees the moments you hide your disappointment behind a brave face. These moments are not invisible to Him. They are recorded. They are counted. And they are used. Your private tears will produce a public testimony. Your quiet sacrifices will produce visible promotion. Your unseen obedience will bring undeniable reward. Nothing you have done in faith is forgotten. Nothing you have endured in silence is wasted. God trains in private so He can bless in public. And when that moment arrives, the world will witness the hand of God upon your life. There comes a point in your private season when God begins to reveal strengths you didn't realize you had. You start to see that you can endure more than you imagine. You can rise after setbacks that once would have defeated you. You can keep your spirit steady even when the ground around you trembles. This is not accidental growth. This is intentional training. God is developing a core within you that cannot be shaken by opinions, adversity, or unexpected storms. Before God elevates a person publicly, he strengthens them privately. He ensures that when the spotlight shines, the weight of visibility does not crush them. What you are enduring right now is building the endurance needed for the blessing you will stand under later. There are moments when God pulls you back, not because you are failing, but because he is increasing the tension for a greater launch. You may feel like you've been pushed into the shadows, taken away from opportunities, or slowed down from the pace you desired. But remember this: an archer pulls the arrow back before releasing it forward. The greater the pull, the farther the distance. God is pulling you back so he can launch you further than you imagine. That pull may feel uncomfortable. It may feel confusing. It may feel like you're losing progress, but you are being positioned for acceleration, not decline. God never pulls you back without the intention of releasing you into something greater in the quiet places. God often exposes the lies you believed about yourself, lies that came from childhood wounds, lies that came from disappointed expectations, lies that came from voices that never understood your worth. God brings those lies into the light so you can confront them in the private season. He teaches you that your identity comes from him alone, not from your failures, not from your past, not from the people who underestimated you, not from the mistakes you made. You are not defined by where you fail. You are defined by who is lifting you. God is removing old labels so you can step into your true identity without hesitation. You cannot walk into a public blessing wearing the chains of old expectations. God breaks them in private so you can walk free in public. Some of the most transformative moments of your life happen when God allows you to face challenges without immediate rescue. Not because he is distant, but because he is strengthening the spiritual muscles that will support your future. If God rescued you too quickly, you would remain dependent on relief instead of transformation. If he stepped in instantly, you would celebrate the escape instead of learning the lesson. God lets you wrestle, so your spirit becomes unshakable. He lets you face pressure, so your faith grows stronger. He lets you stand in the fire, so the impurities fall away while the strength remains. God is not trying to break you. He is teaching you how powerful you already are. When his hand rests upon your life, there are seasons when your prayers seem to echo in silence. You speak, but it feels like nothing responds. You cry out, but it feels like nothing shifts. This silence is not the silence of absence. It is the silence of watching and waiting. God observes how you respond when his presence feels distant. He watches how you walk when the path before you is unclear. He sees how you trust when the future is uncertain. These quiet seasons reveal the true depth of your faith in ways that answered prayers never can. Anyone can trust God when everything is aligned, but those who trust him in the darkness are the ones he lifts into the light. Your private season is also the moment when God grants you divine clarity. Clarity that distinguishes between what you want and what you truly need. Clarity that separates your desires from your destiny. Clarity that shows you what aligns with your purpose and what draws you away from it. God often silences the noise to reveal the truth. Things you once pursued no longer hold your interest. Relationships you once clung to are now easier to release. Goals you once idolized no longer resonate with the person God is transforming you into. This shift in appetite signals that your spirit is growing. God is aligning your desires with your destiny. In private, God trains you to hear his direction, not through dramatic signs, but through the gentle leading of your spirit. You begin to sense what feels right and what does not. You can discern when an opportunity is divine and when it is a distraction. You begin to walk with spiritual confidence that doesn't rely on human approval. This guidance is honed in solitude. People may not understand the choices you make during this time. They may question your decisions. They may doubt your path. But trust what God is stirring in your heart. He speaks in ways the world cannot understand. Another purpose of private seasons is to uncover potential you didn't realize was inside you. God often places you in situations that require you to discover new strength, courage, creativity, and resilience. You may feel unqualified. You may feel unprepared. But God delights in revealing hidden gifts by placing you in circumstances that draw them out. He shows you that you are more capable than you thought. You realize limitations are illusions. The barriers you feared are breakable. When God releases you into your public blessing, He wants you to know the power that already lives within you, not to question whether you belong. In life, there are moments when God reduces your support system to make it feel as though you stand alone. Not because He wants you isolated, but because He wants you to rely on Him before surrounding you with others. If you lean more on people than on God, the foundation becomes shaky. Private seasons strip away false dependencies. You learn to pray differently. You think differently. You see differently. You trust differently. By the time God surrounds you with the right people, you won't cling to them out of fear. You'll walk with them with purpose. Sometimes the greatest work God does in your life is the work no one sees. He mends the broken places within you. He heals disappointments you hid long ago. He brings back hope you believed was lost forever. He strengthens parts of you that weakness once dominated. He softens what life once hardened. He rebuilds what pain once destroyed. You may not recognize these changes right away, but they are happening. And when the time comes for God to bless you publicly, those internal transformations will shine through everything you do. You might not understand why your journey has taken this course. You might not grasp why it took this long. You might not comprehend why God allowed certain seasons. But one day when the blessing unfolds, the clarity will emerge. The tears will make sense. The waiting will make sense. The isolation will make sense. The losses will make sense. God is not random. God is intentional. God is exact. Every season serves a purpose. Every step is part of the plan. And when God reveals what He has been preparing, your life will carry a depth of meaning that cannot be created by human strength. People will see the blessing, but they will never fully understand the preparation it took. They will admire the promotion, but they won't see the nights you fought to keep your hope alive. They will celebrate your breakthrough, but they won't know the struggles you faced in secret. That's why your private season is so vital. It is where God builds the foundation for what comes next. There comes a time when you must decide whether to keep living by the expectations of others or step into the destiny God has been shaping inside you. This is that moment. This is the time when you look inward and face the truth that God has been preparing you for something far greater than the life you've settled for. The private battles you have fought were not signs of weakness. They were signs of purpose. The quiet years were not empty. They were sacred. Every prayer you whispered in the dark, every tear that fell in solitude, every decision to stay faithful when giving up would have been easier, has been collected by God and woven into the strength of your future. Now God is stirring your spirit to stand taller, walk deeper, and believe stronger than ever before. If there is one thing your private season has taught you, it's that God has never abandoned you. Even when you felt overlooked, His hand carried you. Even when you doubted your worth, His presence whispered that you were chosen. Even when you questioned your path, His guidance gently pushed you forward. God has been closer to you in the quiet places than others have been in your loudest moments. And now He is calling you to trust Him with a confidence that cannot be shaken. Trust Him even when you don't understand. Trust Him even when the path seems narrow. Trust Him even when the past tries to haunt you. Trust Him because every lesson, every setback, and every quiet victory has been leading you toward the life He designed for you. You may not feel prepared, but God wouldn't have invested this much in your growth if you were meant to stay where you are. He allowed the stretching because He knew you had the strength to handle it. He allowed the loneliness because He knew you could grow through it. He allowed the refining because He knew your future required maturity, vision, and resilience. What God placed within you is not fragile. It is not temporary. It is not a coincidence. It is divine. And divine purpose cannot be confined by fear. It cannot be quieted by doubt. It cannot be delayed by setbacks. You carry something set apart by God's own hand. And now it is time to honor that calling with courage. So I challenge you today, look at your life with renewed perspective. Ask yourself where fear has caused you to hold back. Ask yourself where you have settled for less than the purpose God placed within you. Ask yourself where discouragement has replaced determination. And then choose today to reclaim your faith boldly. Choose to rise with intention. Choose to walk forward with a heart fully surrendered to God's leading. You have been trained in silence to stand with strength. Do not shrink from the life God is calling you to build. Do not let past failures keep you from new victories. Do not let the voices of doubt drown out the whisper of destiny God has been speaking into your spirit. Let this be the moment you step fully into the faith God has been preparing you to carry. Let this be the moment when you decide your past no longer defines your value and your present no longer limits your future. Let this be the moment when you rise up not with arrogance but with a holy confidence that comes from knowing God has shaped you, refined you, corrected you, loved you, strengthened you, and prepared you. You are not the same person you were when this journey began. You are wiser. You are stronger. You are deeper. And God has been the architect of every step. Walk forward now with a heart anchored in God's promise. A spirit strengthened by private training and a mind focused on the purpose He has set before you. Lift your head, steady your soul, and open your heart. God is ready. God is calling. God is with you. And the life He has shaped within you is waiting to be lived with courage, humility, and unwavering faith. Listen closely, because what I'm about to share is not a simple statement, not an empty expression, not a gentle whisper meant to soothe you briefly and then disappear. Listen closely, because what I'm preparing to speak is not a casual declaration, not an idle phrase, not a faint murmur intended to steady you for a moment and then fade away. This is a proclamation that shakes the ground beneath your spirit. This is a message that carries the weight of heaven. This is the kind of truth that reaches into the deepest part of your soul and calls your spirit to rise when everything around you says stay down. If there is breath in your body and even the smallest spark left in your faith, then you need to hear this. God is saying, I am still going to do it for you. Not maybe, not someday, not if the situation improves. God is saying, I have not changed my mind. I have not withdrawn my promise. I have not forgotten what I spoke over your life. I am still going to do it for you. Some of you have been carrying a silent question inside your heart. You haven't said it out loud, but it echoes through your thoughts like thunder. You've asked God, did I misunderstand you? Did I hope for the wrong thing? Did I misread the signs? Did I mistake my own desire for your voice? You've been wrestling with that fear that perhaps the door has closed, the season is past, and what you believe for will never come to pass. But God is stepping into that fear right now. God is stepping into that doubt right now. God is stepping into that heaviness right now. And He is speaking with the authority that created the heavens and the earth. I'm still going to do it. There is nothing casual about the promises of God. When God speaks, reality must shift. When God declares, circumstances must bow. When God commands, creation aligns with His will. And when God decides to do something in your life, there is no force, no person, no obstacle, no power, no delay, and no darkness that can overturn His decree. You may feel delayed, but God is never delayed. You may feel forgotten, but God cannot forget. You may feel weak, but God is not waiting for your strength. God is working from His own strength. Some of you feel like the promise God gave you is on life support. You feel like the dream is barely breathing. You feel like the hope is fading. You feel like the situation has stretched on for too long. But hear me, just because you are tired does not mean God is finished. Just because you see nothing happening does not mean God is inactive. The silence of God is not the absence of God. The stillness around you is not proof that God has stepped away. Sometimes the quiet season is the sacred season where God is preparing things so powerful, so measured, so precise that they must be done away from your eyes until the moment He reveals them. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not abandoned. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not disqualified. God is saying, I am still going to do it for you. Because God does not change His mind based on the storms you walk through. God does not reconsider His plan because your emotions waver. God does not withdraw His promise because seasons have shifted. God does not withdraw His promise because moments have faded. God does not recalculate your destiny based on the mistakes you've made. When God decides to do something, it is settled in the realm where doubt has no authority. But I want you to sense the weight of this truth. When God says, I am still going to do it, He's not saying it to comfort you, He's saying it to prepare you. There is a difference. Comfort soothes you. Preparation strengthens you. Comfort helps you sleep. Preparation wakes you up. Comfort makes you feel safe. Preparation makes you ready. God is not in the business of giving shallow comfort. God gives strength that carries you through storms. God gives power that stabilizes your soul. God gives vision that keeps you anchored when life tries to tear you apart. Some of you are asking, but why did it take so long? You've cried about it. You've prayed about it. You begged for it. You fought for it. And yet the promise feels no closer today than it did years ago. Hear this and let it settle in you. When God is preparing something big for you, the weight is not punishment. The weight is protection. God holds back certain blessings because if they came too early, they would break you instead of bless you. If they came too soon, you would mishandle them. If they arrived before you were ready, The very thing God designed to lift you would overwhelm you. God is not just preparing the blessing, God is preparing you. You think you're waiting on God, but in many ways God has been waiting on you, waiting for your character to catch up to your calling, waiting for your strength to match the size of the blessing, waiting for your heart to be purified from the voices, influences, and distractions that would sabotage what He is about to release into your life, waiting for the weights to fall off your soul so you can carry what He is about to place into your hands. And hear this clearly: God doesn't build small. When God works, He works in ways that reveal His power. When God moves, He moves in ways that show His greatness. So when God says, I am still going to do it for you, He is not talking about something ordinary or average. He is talking about something that will make you say, only God could have done this. Only God could have arranged this. Only God could have opened this door. Only God could have lifted me this high. You may feel like the promise has slipped too far away. You may feel like the damage is too deep. You may feel like the opportunity has passed. But God is not limited by time. God is not restrained by natural order. God is not confined to what has already happened. God can resurrect what died. God can rebuild what was destroyed. God can restore what was stolen. God can elevate you from the very place where you were pushed down. I want you to notice something powerful. God did not say, I might do it. God did not say, I will think about it. God did not say, if everything aligns perfectly, then I will do it. God is declaring, I am still going to do it. The word still means He calculated in everything that has unfolded. The word still means He considered in everything that has occurred. He took into account the detours. He took into account the disappointments. He took into account the heartbreak. He took into account the mistakes. He took into account the delays. And after weighing all of it, God still said, my plan stands. That means nothing you've been through removed you from God's plan. Nothing you've lost disqualified you from God's plan. Nothing anyone did behind your back canceled God's plan. Even the moments you fell the hardest were already factored into the promise. And God is saying, despite it all, I'm still going to do it. You don't have to convince God. You don't have to beg God. You don't have to plead with God. The promise is not activated by your desperation. It is activated by God's decision. And God has already decided. Some of you need to release the guilt that has been choking your faith. You think you messed up too badly. You think you lost your chance. You think your past mistakes have poisoned your future blessings. But hear me. God knew your weaknesses before you even recognized your strengths. God knew your flaws before you walked into your destiny. God knew your struggles long before you prayed your first prayer. And God didn't choose you because you were perfect. God chose you because His plan for your life is stronger than every imperfection in your life. God knew who you were, and God still spoke the promise. That means you're not disqualified. It means you're not too late. It means you're not too broken. It means you haven't fallen too far. God is saying, I am still going to do it, because nothing can separate you from what God has decreed over you. Some of you are about to witness a shift so sudden, so powerful, and so precise that you will look back and realize that the delay was not a denial. It was a setup for something far greater than you ever imagined. God has a timing that is above your timing. God has a strategy that is above your strategy. God has a way that is above your way. And when God is ready to move, Things that have been stuck for years will suddenly break open. Doors that have been shut will suddenly swing wide. Paths that were blocked will suddenly clear. People who overlooked you will suddenly have no choice but to notice what God is doing in you. This is only the beginning. There comes a moment in every person's life when God's promise feels almost unreachable. Not because the promise has lost its power, but because the journey toward it has tested every part of you. There are days when you stand strong, and there are days when you feel like your spirit is barely holding together. Yet even in those moments, God watches over you with a precision you cannot comprehend. God does not only see your actions, God sees your endurance. God sees the quiet battles you fight when no one else is around. God sees the tears you wipe away. God sees the nights you lie awake questioning if you can keep going. And God is saying, I am still going to do it for you, not because you never struggled, but because you kept standing even when everything inside you wanted to fall. Many people around you have misread your fight. Many people around you have misunderstood your struggle. They see where you are, but they have no idea what it took for you to survive this long. They see your calm face, but they don't see the storms you have walked through. They see your patience, but they don't see the pressure that has crushed your heart again and again. They see your strength, but they don't see how many times you've collapsed before God in private, asking for the power just to make it through one more day. But that is where the mystery of God's promise becomes so powerful. God never builds your destiny on the applause of others. God builds it on the perseverance that only He can see. God sees the truth of your heart, and because of that, the promise over your life remains untouched. You may not feel it, but right now, God is rearranging things in ways you cannot imagine. God is setting things in motion that you have not even prayed for yet. God is preparing connections, opportunities, alignments, and breakthroughs that will make sense only when they appear. You think you are behind, but God is actually ahead of you. You think you are waiting, but God is building. You think nothing is happening, but God is preparing a moment where everything will shift at once, and when that moment comes, it will not be fragile or uncertain. God does not deliver halfway blessings. When God fulfills a promise, it stands with a strength that cannot be shaken. There are times when God allows delays so He can remove the people who cannot go into your future. You may not understand why certain relationships fell apart. You may not understand why people you trusted suddenly distanced themselves. You may not understand why some situations collapsed even when you prayed for them to hold together. But God saw what you could not see. God heard conversations you never heard. God witnessed motives you did not recognize. And God separated you from what would have harmed your destiny. Some of the people you lost were necessary losses. Some of the doors that closed were necessary closures. Some of the disappointments were necessary redirections, because God will not allow anything to contaminate what He has destined for. You hear this clearly. If God removed it, it was never supposed to carry you forward. If God closed it, it was never designed to bless you. If God ended it, it was not aligned with His plan. You may not have understood the loss at the time, but someday you will look back and say, if that had stayed in my life, it would have destroyed me. God protects His promise with the same intensity that He fulfills it. And if God said He is still going to do it for you, then nothing that left your life had the power to stop what God decreed. Some of you have been asking, why does the promise feel so far away? But sometimes God increases the distance so He can increase your dependence. When the blessing is close, you rely on your strength. When the blessing is far, you rely on God's. When the answer is near, you feel in control. When the answer is distant, you fall into the hands of the one who fully governs all things. When the answer is distant, you fall into the hands of the one who truly controls all things. God is not trying to frustrate you. God is training you. God is shaping your perseverance. God is teaching you how to walk with Him at a deeper level than ever before. Every season of waiting refines sees something inside you that comfort never will. Waiting humbles your heart. Waiting sharpens your discernment. Waiting pushes you to silence voices that drain your faith. Waiting strips away distractions. Waiting breaks your dependence on things and people that cannot sustain your spirit. Waiting strengthens your capacity to hear God without needing constant reassurance. And when God finally moves, you don't enter the blessing as the same person who first prayed for it. You enter it with a spirit that has been purified, matured, and strengthened by the very journey that once frustrated you. Some of you are being strengthened right now. Even if you do not realize it, you are being shaped into someone who can handle what God is about to place in your life. You are being prepared to carry something that will not only bless you, but impact the people around you. God is raising you with purpose. God is shaping you with intention. Nothing about your journey has been wasted. Not the pain, not the tears, not the battles, not the confusion. Every moment has been part of the preparation for what God is about to release. You may look at yourself and see weakness, but God sees someone who refuses to quit. You may look at your past and see mistakes, but God sees lessons. You may look at your present and see setbacks, but God sees construction. God does not define you by what went wrong. God defines you by what He has planned. And the plan has not changed. The promise has not shifted. The destiny has not been canceled. God is still going to do it for you. You might think your situation is too far gone. You might think the damage cannot be repaired. You might think the opportunity is lost. You might think the time is past. But God specializes in turning impossibilities into testimonies. God does not need the situation to be perfect. God does not need the conditions to be favorable. God does not need everyone to support you. God only needs one thing to fulfill His promise, His decision, and He already made it. You may be surrounded by circumstances that try to convince you otherwise. Your bank account may say it's impossible. Your family situation may say it's impossible. Your health may say it's impossible. The people around you may say it's impossible. But God does not speak according to what is visible. God speaks according to what is destined. The impossible is simply the stage where God reveals His greatness. There are blessings God gives quickly, and there are blessings God gives slowly. But then there are blessings God gives suddenly. And some of you are standing on the edge of a suddenly. You don't see it yet, but you can feel something shifting. You can feel a quiet stirring in your spirit. You can feel that the heaviness that followed you for so long is starting to weaken. You can feel clarity forming where confusion once controlled you. That is not your imagination. That is God preparing the atmosphere surrounding your life. That is God preparing the atmosphere surrounding your life. That is God announcing to your spirit that what He promised is approaching its moment. God does not rush anything, but God also never hesitates. When the moment is right, God moves without delay. And when God moves, the effect is immediate. When God commands a door to open, it opens with authority. When God sends a blessing, it arrives with force. When God decides a season is over, nothing can prolong it. And when God says, I am still going to do it for you, he is declaring that time, people, circumstances, and obstacles must all submit to his will. This is only a small part of what God is stirring over your life. There comes a point in your journey where God's promise stops being something you simply hope for and becomes something your spirit refuses to release. A moment where your entire being begins to say, I don't know how, I don't know when, but I know God will do it. That moment doesn't come from comfort. It comes from pressure. It comes from walking through valleys that seemed endless. It comes from confronting situations that tried to suffocate your courage. It comes from carrying weights you never asked for. And yet, even under all that strain, something in you refused to. That something is faith shaped by the hands of God. Faith is not born on mountaintops. Faith grows when God lets you walk through seasons that don't make sense. Faith expands when you fight battles that seem too big for you. Faith matures when God stays silent long enough for you to learn the sound of his presence without hearing a word. Faith becomes unshakable when every circumstance shouts, give up, but you stand still because you trust the one who holds all power. And right now, that faith you've been building, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unknowingly, is rising to meet the promise God declared over you. This is why God keeps saying, I'm still going to do it for you. God is not merely encouraging you. God is aligning you. God is bringing everything inside you into agreement with what he already established before the challenge began. God is stabilizing your spirit. So when the blessing arrives, you will not crumble under the weight of it. You have no idea how much God has already protected you from. You don't know how many battles God fought around you while you slept. You don't know how many traps were dismantled before they reached your path. You don't know how many arrows lost their target because God intervened before they struck. You don't know how many decisions were altered because God stepped in to ensure nothing interfered with what he planned for you. All you saw were disappointments, delays, and detours. But if your eyes could open to what God shielded you from, you would fall to your knees in awe of how carefully God has carried you. Some of the resistance you faced was not a sign of God's absence. It was a sign of your calling. People who carry great purpose attract great pressure. People who carry divine assignments walk through valleys many will never comprehend. People who carry divine assignments walk through valleys most will never understand. People chosen by God often encounter storms that seem unfair. Yet those storms do not come to destroy you. They come to reveal you. They expose your strength. They refine your trust. They uproot the fears that once controlled you. They prove to you and to everything watching that you cannot be broken because God himself sustained you. Let me tell you something with complete authority. If the struggle was enough to stop God's promise, it would have stopped you already. But here you are still standing, still hoping, still believing, still reaching. You are not here by accident. You are here because God has preserved you. And God does not preserve something he does not plan to use. God is shaping you into a vessel that can carry what he promised. That shaping is not gentle. It is not always comfortable, but it is purposeful. You have been stretched, pressed, refined, and tested. Not because you are weak, but because what God is preparing to give you requires a spirit that has been strengthened in the fire. There are blessings so significant that only endurance can prepare you for them. There are doors so large that only perseverance can lift the key. There are callings so heavy that only refined faith can carry them. This is why the promise took time. God wasn't withholding anything from you. God was enlarging your capacity to receive. God was increasing your ability to sustain. When God blesses you, He does not want it to be temporary. God wants it to last. God wants it to expand. God wants it to overflow into every part of your life. And for that to happen, you needed to grow into the person capable of handling such abundance. But now, something remarkable is happening. You are entering a season where what once resisted, you will begin to bend in your favor. The same doors that would not open before will begin to unlock. The same people who overlooked you will begin to take notice. The same opportunities that once slipped out of reach will return. The same situation that caused you pain will shift into purpose. This isn't optimism. This is God positioning everything according to His timing. When God says, "I am still going to do it for you," He is not asking for your permission. He is revealing His intention. This is not a negotiation. This is not a suggestion. This is a declaration stamped by divine authority. There is no circumstance powerful enough to overrule what God has decreed. There is no delay long enough to weaken the promise. There is no darkness thick enough to conceal what God is about to unfold. When God decides your moment has come, everything must align with His command. There is a reason your spirit feels restless, not in anxiety, restless in expectation, restless in anticipation, restless in a way that suggests something is shifting in the unseen. You can sense it even though you cannot explain it. Your heart feels stirred. Your mind feels awakened. Your faith feels heavier, not from burden but from readiness. That is not random. That is God signaling that the promise is approaching its fullness. And don't underestimate the significance of what you have endured. Pain teaches you things. Comfort never could. Comfort never will. Struggle shapes you in ways ease never could. You learn to stand without applause. You learn to trust without validation. You learn to pray without immediate results. You learn to walk forward even when your heart felt faint. You learn to keep your faith alive in seasons where everything around you felt lifeless. Those lessons were not wasted. They were sculpting the foundation of someone God can trust with something extraordinary. God does not place great destiny in unprepared hands. And you have been prepared not by chance, not by accident, but by design. And now God is bringing clarity to what once confused you. God is bringing order to what once felt scattered. God is bringing strength to areas where you felt weak. God is bringing purpose to the pain that once seemed senseless. You are stepping into a phase of your journey where the unseen work of God will become visible. You thought God was silent, but God was building. You thought nothing was changing, but God was arranging. You thought you were stuck, but God was stabilizing your foundation. And now that voice that whispers into your spirit, quiet but undeniable, is saying, "Hold on, stay steady. I am still going to do it for you, and God will." There is a moment when a person must decide who they are going to be from this day forward. Not defined by fear, not shaped by disappointment, not controlled by the voices of doubt that have followed them for years, but shaped by the truth that God has spoken over their life. You stand in that moment right now. Everything you have walked through has brought you here. Every storm that tried to break you has only confirmed that you were built to rise. Every setback that tried to silence you has only proven that God's hand has been holding you through all of it. And because God has carried you, you can face what comes next with courage. You can stand in the power of knowing that your life is not random. Your path is not meaningless. Your journey is not wasted. God is leading you. God is shaping you. God is preparing you for something greater than anything you have known. So lift your head, straighten your shoulders, let your heart open again. Do not let the wounds of yesterday define the strength of tomorrow. Do not let the voices that tried to diminish you drown out the voice of God calling you forward. Do not let closed doors convince you that God has forgotten you. God has not abandoned you. God has not overlooked you. God has not changed his mind about your life. What God has spoken still stands. What God has planned will still unfold. What God has promised will still reach you. Take hold of that truth and let it reshape the way you walk. From this day on, choose to live with a confidence rooted not in what you see, but in what God has declared. Choose to trust even when you cannot trace the path. Choose to believe even when nothing around you seems to match the promise. Choose to lift your spirit every morning with the certainty that God is moving, God is working, and God is guiding every detail of your life. Let your steps reveal the strength that comes from knowing you are never alone. Let your steps reflect the strength that comes from knowing you are not alone. Let your decisions carry the weight of someone who understands that their life has divine meaning. Let your heart stay open to the direction God gives, even when that direction pulls you away from what is familiar. And now, as you stand before the unknown, dare to release the fear that has kept you small. Dare to step out of the patterns that have held you back. Dare to walk with a renewed purpose, a deeper hunger, and a stronger faith. God is calling you to rise above what once defeated you. God is calling you to break free from what once confined you. God is calling you to move forward with a spirit that refuses to surrender. This is your time to trust God with everything you are and everything you hope to become. Let your soul remember this truth with every breath. God has not brought you this far to leave you empty-handed. God has not allowed you to endure the storms only to abandon you in the calm. God has not let you survive the valley only to let you fall on the mountain. God is saying, I am still going to do it for you. Let that promise ignite your spirit. Let it fuel your courage. Let it deepen your faith. Let it push you to examine your life and realign your heart with the path God has prepared. Walk forward with reverence. Walk forward with conviction. Walk forward with a renewed dedication to seek God in everything you do. Let your thoughts be anchored in faith, your actions grounded in purpose, and your heart fixed firmly on the one who has never failed you. Stand tall in the assurance that God is with you. God is guiding you, and God is preparing to fulfill what He declared over your life long before you even asked for it. And as you breathe in this moment, let one truth settle deeply, quietly, powerfully into your soul. When God says He will do it, nothing in this world can stop what is. There are moments in life when you feel the weight of the world pressing against your chest. Moments when you lie awake at night, wondering how much more your heart can endure. Moments when the silence feels louder than any storm you have ever walked through. And right now, someone hearing these words is carrying a load so heavy that even breathing feels like an act of bravery. You have fought, you have endured, you have prayed, and yet the struggle has lasted longer than you ever expected. But listen closely, because this is not random. You didn't come across this message by mistake. Something in your spirit is reaching for hope, and God is responding. God knows it's painful. God has seen every step, every tear, every quiet prayer you've whispered when no one else was near. And God is preparing to send help. There are moments when we tell ourselves we're strong, but the truth is even the strongest hearts grow weary. You have tried to convince others that you're fine, but deep down you know you've reached a place where only God can lift you. And that is exactly where miracles are born. God never lets a faithful heart break without releasing healing. God never allows a battle to continue without shaping a victory on the other side. The struggle you're facing right now is not evidence that God has abandoned you. It is evidence that God is building something greater than you can see. The pressure is a sign of preparation. The waiting is a sign of positioning. The heaviness is a sign that God is shifting things in ways you cannot yet comprehend. There is someone listening who thinks, I'm exhausted. I don't know how much more I can take. And God sees that weariness. God knows the nights you cried yourself to sleep and told no one. God knows the days you pushed yourself forward, even when everything in you was pleading for rest. God knows the moments you questioned your worth, questioned your purpose, questioned your future. Yet through it all, God kept you breathing. God kept you standing. God kept you alive. Because your story is not ending here. The help you've been praying for is already on its way. God is getting ready to intervene in a way that will leave you speechless. There is something powerful that happens when a heart reaches the edge of its own strength, when you can no longer rely on your plans, when you can no longer depend on your own understanding, when you have no choice but to turn entirely toward God. That is when God steps in with a strength that does not bend, a wisdom that does not weaken, and a power that does not fade. God will never let you walk through fire alone. Even if the flames rise higher, God's protection rises higher still. Even if the path becomes rougher, God's hand becomes stronger. Even if the storm intensifies, God's presence becomes clearer than ever before. You may not realize it, but right now, God is surrounding you with a shield you cannot see. Doors you didn't even know existed are being prepared for you. People you have not yet met are being positioned to bless you. And the strength you need for the next chapter is being developed within you through the very struggles that feel so overwhelming today. God never wastes pain. God uses it to shape you, strengthen you, refine you, and remind you that your life is held in hands far more capable than your own. Sometimes help doesn't arrive in the form of instant rescue. Sometimes it comes as inner resilience. God gives you a strength you didn't realize you possessed. God fills you with a peace that doesn't align with your circumstances. God whispers to your heart, hold on. I know it's heavy, but this heaviness is not your ending. It is your preparation. And maybe that is exactly what you need to hear today. You are not failing. You are not falling apart. You are being supported. God is nearer than you think. You've been asking, why does life have to be this hard? Why does my journey feel so weighty? But I want you to consider something. What if the weight you're carrying is not punishment, but preparation? What if the struggle is not a sign of abandonment, but the forming of someone destined for something far greater? God never strengthens a person without intention, and God never allows you to endure hardship without providing a way through it. You may feel like you're walking through darkness, but God sees the road clearly. You may feel lost, but God knows exactly where you stand. You may feel alone, but you are surrounded by a presence that has never left you for a single heartbeat. There is someone listening who feels misunderstood. You've tried to explain your pain to others, but they can't grasp the depth of what you're carrying. God sees it. God knows it. God understands it in a way no human ever could. You don't have to explain your tears to God. God reads every one of them. You don't have to justify your weakness. God knows how much you've endured. You don't have to pretend to be strong. God already knows the real you. And God loves you through every struggle, every doubt, every broken moment. And right now, God is whispering to your spirit, help is coming. Not the kind of help that disappears after a week. Not the kind of help that briefly lifts your mood. Not the kind of help that leaves you relying on temporary solutions, but real help, divine help. The kind of help that shifts the direction of your life. The kind of help that moves mountains, opens doors and breaks chains. The kind of help that reminds you that you have never been forgotten, never been overlooked, never been abandoned. Some of the greatest blessings arrive disguised as difficulty. Some of the most powerful breakthroughs come after seasons of deep struggle. And some of the most life-changing moments appear when you reach your lowest point, and God lifts you higher than you ever imagined. You may not see the help yet, but it is on its way. You may not feel the strength yet, but it is being built. You may not understand the purpose yet, but one day you will look back and say, God was working all along. Maybe you're in a season where everything feels uncertain. You're unsure of what comes next. You're unsure of how you will make it. You're unsure of who you can trust. But let me tell you something with absolute confidence. You can trust God when everyone else fails. God remains faithful. When everything else shifts, God remains steady. When life feels overwhelming, God remains the calm at the center of the storm. You don't have to know the entire plan. You just need to trust the one who holds the plan. There is someone who feels like the battle has dragged on far too long. You're thinking, how much longer will this continue? And God is saying, just long enough for me to complete what I have prepared, but not a moment more. God does not let storms linger endlessly. God does not allow seasons of hardship without a finish line. And God never lets difficulty write the last chapter of your story. What you're facing right now is temporary, but the strength God is forming in you will endure for years. The lessons you're learning will guide you for a lifetime. The resilience God is planting in your heart will prepare you for blessings far beyond what you envision. Sometimes we assume help means everything suddenly becoming easy. But true help from God means God strengthens you so deeply that even when life is not easy, you stand unshaken. God gives you a courage that rises above fear. God gives you a peace that nothing can disturb. God gives you a clarity that slices through confusion. God gives you a hope that refuses to fade. That is the kind of help God is preparing for you. There is someone whose heart is weary from repeated disappointments. You trusted and things fell apart. You hoped and it didn't happen. You prayed and the answer seemed delayed. Now you're wondering if this is just how life will always be. But let me speak to that wounded place within you. Don't give up. Don't let disappointment trick you into believing God's promise is not true. Delays are not denials. Waiting is not rejection, and silence is not abandonment. God has not forgotten you. God is not finished with you. God is not overlooking your prayers. Sometimes the answer takes time because God is preparing something far greater than what you requested. When God's help arrives, it never comes a day late. It never comes in the wrong form. It never comes in a way that leaves you confused or more broken. When God sends help, it comes with clarity. It comes with peace. It comes with a sense of divine timing that leaves you amazed at how perfectly everything aligned. God knows what you need. God knows when you need it. God knows who must be involved. God knows which doors should open and which ones must stay closed. And God is orchestrating all of it right now. There are battles you're facing that no one knows about. There are tears you've cried that no one has seen. There are fears you've carried that no one has understood. But God knows. And not only does God know, God cares. God is not distant from your struggle. God is not indifferent to your pain. God is not watching from a distance. God is closer to you in your hardship than in your happiest moments. When your heart breaks, God draws near. When your strength fades, God steps in. When your hope dims, God reignites it with a spark that darkness cannot smother. You may feel like you're running out of strength, but God is not asking you to be strong for the rest of your life. God is asking you to trust Him for today, just this moment, just this next breath. God will provide strength for tomorrow when tomorrow arrives. But for now, God is saying, let me carry you through this moment. And that is help. That is divine help. Not always the kind that lifts the burden instantly, but the kind that ensures the burden doesn't crush you. Someone listening feels forgotten. You feel overlooked. You feel unheard, but the truth is you are seen by the one who made you. God has been guarding your life since the day you came into this world. God has protected you in moments you never realized were dangerous. God has blocked attacks you never detected. God has closed doors that would have damaged you. God has kept people away who were never meant to walk with you into your purpose. That was help. You didn't recognize it then, but one day you will look back and see that God was helping you long before you ever asked. And now God is preparing to help you again. This time in a way that transforms your weary heart into a testimony of God's faithfulness. You have endured enough pain, you have shed enough tears, you have fought enough hidden battles. God is getting ready to lift you in a way that restores everything the struggle tried to steal. God is about to send people into your life who speak encouragement, who bring peace, who show compassion. God is about to remove the heaviness from your spirit and replace it with a strength that feels like renewal. God is about to open a door that no opposition will be able to close. But before help arrives, God often allows you to reach the point where you finally release control. That is where transformation begins. That is where breakthrough starts forming. Not when you're strong and confident, but when you say, God, I'm tired, I need you. That simple, honest confession becomes the very place where miracles start. God responds to humility. God responds to sincerity. God responds to the heart that admits, I can't do this alone. You may think your struggle proves weakness, but it doesn't. It proves you're human. And God specializes in lifting the human heart into places of strength that human effort cannot reach. God specializes in taking the weary and turning them into warriors. God specializes in taking the broken and turning them into examples of resilience. God specializes in taking what was meant to harm you and using it to empower you. You're not alone. Not now. Not ever. God is walking with you through a valley that feels impossible. But the same God who allowed you to enter it will give you the strength to come out stronger than before. The same God who watched your tears fall will be the God who wipes them away. The same God who saw your pain will be the God who brings you peace. The same God who knows how difficult it's been is the God who is preparing to send help at the perfect moment. Your story is not finished. Your strength is not gone. Your hope is not lost. You are being held by power that never fails. You are being guided by wisdom that never makes a mistake. You are being covered by a mercy that never dries up. And very soon you will witness with your own eyes that nothing you endured was wasted. Every tear watered the soil for a fresh beginning. Every struggle shaped you into someone who will be ready for the blessings God is arranging. Every hardship was carving depth, compassion, strength, and resilience into your soul. Right now, heaven is moving on your behalf. Right now, God is aligning pieces for your next chapter. Right now, help is being released. It may not look like it yet, but it's coming. You may not feel it yet, but it's coming. You may not see the how, but God is already opening a way. God has not forgotten you. God has not overlooked you. God has not abandoned you. God knows it hurts, but God is about to send help. There are moments in life when the soul reaches the depth of struggle that words cannot describe. Moments when you stand inside your own life and wonder how one heart can carry so much weight. And yet, even in those moments when your strength feels drained and your hope feels faint, something inside you still whispers, maybe God hasn't finished with me yet. That whisper is not your imagination. It is God sustaining you when you don't realize you're being held. It is God keeping you steady even when everything inside you feels like collapsing. It is God saying, I know how heavy this is, but I am with you and I will not leave you here. Help is closer than you think. You are not walking blindly. You are not fighting alone. You are not surviving by your own strength. God is nearer to you than the fear that tries to suffocate you. God is nearer than the doubt that tries to discourage you. God is nearer than the battle that tries to break you. When life pushes you to the edge, God doesn't tell you to fear the fall. God says, let me lift you so you can see beyond it. The help God sends is not ordinary help. It is the kind that goes deeper than your pain, stronger than your fear, and higher than your expectations. God is preparing to send you the kind of help that transforms what you thought would destroy you into the very thing that prepares you. Some of the greatest turning points in life begin in the most painful seasons. When everything around you feels uncertain, God uses uncertainty to push you into trust. When people walk away, God uses their absence to draw you closer to Him. When plans fall apart, God uses the broken pieces to build something more meaningful than what you originally pursued. You may be questioning the timing, the pressure, the losses, the setbacks, the delay, but God is not just watching your journey. God is directing it. God is allowing certain doors to stay closed because the path behind them would drain you. God is removing certain people because their presence would hinder your purpose. God is shifting you out of familiar places because comfort can sometimes restrict growth. Help from God doesn't always arrive the way you expect. Sometimes God sends help through clarity. Suddenly you notice something you once ignored. You recognize something you used to tolerate. You understand something that confused you for years. That clarity is help. Sometimes God sends help through strength. One morning you wake up and the thing that crushed you yesterday no longer controls your spirit. That strength is help. Sometimes God sends help through stillness. You feel a peace that doesn't reflect your circumstances. That peace is help. And sometimes God sends help through redirection by pulling you away from something you thought you needed, so He can guide you toward what your soul truly requires. The very fact that you're still standing is a sign that God's hand has been on your life. You survived moments that should have broken you. You endured storms that should have drowned your hope. You pushed through days when your heart was trembling. You didn't make it this far because of luck. You made it because God carried you. And if God carried you through the storms of yesterday, God will not abandon you in the challenges of today. The same God who held you then is holding you now. The same God who protected you before is protecting you now. The same God who made a way then is about to make a way again. There's a reason your spirit feels stretched. You're being prepared for something that requires more strength than your past demanded. There's a reason your faith feels tested. You're being shaped for a blessing that requires deeper trust. There's a reason certain battles feel relentless. You're being positioned for a breakthrough that will silence those battles once and for all. God doesn't allow pressure without purpose. God doesn't allow struggle without growth. Not one moment of this journey is wasted. Not one tear is meaningless. Not one prayer has gone unheard. Someone listening right now is thinking, I've been waiting so long. Why hasn't the help come yet? But the help of God is never rushed. God knows that a premature blessing can become a burden. God knows that an unprepared heart can mishandle a miracle. God knows that if you receive something before you're ready, you might lose it before it becomes fruitful. So God prepares you not to punish you, but to preserve you. God stretches your patience so your blessing will not overwhelm you. God strengthens your spirit so the weight of your calling will not crush you. God deepens your wisdom so you'll recognize the opportunities He brings. God is not delaying your help. God is perfecting the help. You may feel like life has pushed you into a corner, but God specializes in meeting people in the corners of life. The places where you have no backup, no solution, no clear path forward. The places where the only direction left is up are the places where God releases the greatest help. That is where God reveals His power. That is where your story begins to turn. God steps into the places where people fail you, where strength disappears, where hope fades, and God breathes new life into you. That breath of strength is preparing you for what is about to unfold. Some of you are carrying wounds that no one knows about. Deep wounds, old wounds, wounds you've tried to ignore because you're afraid they might define you. But God is not just sending help to improve your circumstances. God is sending help to heal your soul. God knows the layers of pain beneath your silence. God knows the scars you've hidden from the world. God knows the moment you insisted you were fine while you were breaking inside. And God is saying, I am about to heal what others overlooked. I am about to mend what life tore apart. I am about to restore what darkness tried to steal. There is help coming for your mind, so your thoughts no longer torment you. Help coming for your heart, so your peace returns. Help coming for your household, so conflict gives way to harmony. Help coming for your future, so uncertainty is replaced with confidence. Help coming for your spirit, so weariness is exchanged for inner strength. Help coming for your path, so confusion turns into clarity. God is sending help that will touch every area of your life that has been under attack. Sometimes, the greatest battles erupt right before the greatest breakthroughs. Darkness pushes hardest before the light breaks through. Pressure increases when a new season is about to begin. The enemy of your soul presses harder when he knows God is about to lift you higher. That's why the struggle has felt so intense. That's why the nights have been heavy. That's why the weight on your shoulders is felt unbearable. Because something is shifting, something is approaching, something is aligning. You're not feeling this pressure because God has forgotten you. You're feeling it because God is preparing you for the next chapter. There will come a day sooner than you think when you will look back and realize the help God sent was far greater than the help you prayed for. You asked for relief, but God sent transformation. You asked for escape, but God sent strength. You asked for answers, but God sent wisdom. You asked for restoration, but God sent elevation. That is how God works. beyond your expectations, beyond your imagination, beyond your current understanding. And when the help arrives, it will not confuse you. It will not drain you. It will not question your worth. The help God sends will lift you. It will strengthen you. It will align with your spirit. It will bring peace to your heart. It will confirm what your soul has already sensed, that God has been preparing you for this moment all along. God knows it's been hard. God knows you feel tired. God knows you've wondered whether your prayers are making any difference. But God is about to move in your life in a way that leaves no doubt that He hears you. He sees you, and He has been working behind the scenes from the very beginning. You are closer to your breakthrough than you realize. You are standing on the edge of a shift that will rewrite the story of your life. God is about to send help, and when it arrives, everything will change. There are seasons in life when the weight on your shoulders is not only physical, not only mental, but deeply spiritual. Seasons where it seems as though every turn leads to another closed door, another delay, another disappointment. And in those moments, it's easy to believe that silence equals abandonment. But silence is often the sacred space where God does His deepest work. God is not ignoring you. God is shaping you. God is strengthening the ground beneath your feet so that when the help arrives, you will not collapse under the blessing. God is preparing you to carry what you once only prayed for. What you must understand is this: God sees every detail of your struggle with more clarity than you see your own reflection. God knows the exact moment your heart began to grow heavy. God knows the exact day your hopes started to fade. God knows the exact circumstance that drove you to your knees. And just as God saw the beginning of your burden, God has already appointed the moment when that burden will break. You may be in the middle of the battle, but God has already written the final chapter, and the ending is victory. The ending is strength. The ending is rescue. The ending is divine help, arriving the very second your soul needs it most. There is someone listening who has been fighting a battle of identity. You know there is purpose inside you, but doubt keeps pulling you backward. You feel called to something greater yet unworthy of the calling. But hear this: God does not choose the confident. God strengthens the chosen. God does not look for the perfect. God develops the willing. God does not wait for you to have everything together. God meets you right where you are and shapes you into who you were meant to become. Your weakness doesn't disqualify you. It positions you for God's strength. Your uncertainty doesn't limit you. It creates space for God's clarity. Your struggles don't reduce your value. They refine your spirit for what comes next. Help is coming for your confidence. Help is coming for your identity. Help is coming for your sense of purpose. God is going to remind you of who you truly are, not who the world tried to make you believe you are. When God sends help, He not only lifts your circumstances, He lifts your sense of self. He restores your courage. He reignites your inner fire. He pulls you out of the shadows of fear and places you back into the light of purpose. You will rise again, not because you are strong on your own, but because God is strengthening you from within. Some of you are dealing with a heaviness born from betrayal. You trusted someone who mishandled your heart. You opened up to someone who later walked away. You poured into relationships that left you drained. But listen carefully. God sees the wounds that people inflict, and God never allows pain to be the final chapter. When people fail you, God uses their absence to redirect your loyalty toward the one who never leaves. When people break your trust, God uses that break to rebuild your spirit on foundations that cannot be shaken. When people walk out of your life, God begins preparing the arrival of those who are meant to lift you, not wound you. The help God is preparing will heal more than your circumstances. It will heal your relationships, your expectations, and your heart. There are others who quietly fear the future. You don't know what tomorrow holds, and the unknown feels overwhelming. But the unknown is not unknown to God. The path you can't see is clear to Him. The door you're hesitant to open is one God already knows how to guide you through. The steps you're unsure of are steps God has already prepared. When you trust God, the unknown becomes less frightening because you understand you're not walking into darkness. You're walking into destiny. Help is coming in the form of clarity. God is about to make things unmistakable. God is about to reveal what once seemed hidden. God is about to illuminate a path you didn't realize was right before you. And let me tell you this with conviction. The help God sends will not only meet your need, it will surpass it. You are not being prepared for ordinary blessings. You are being prepared for divine intervention. God is not shaping you for small breakthroughs. God is shaping you for a shift so meaningful that you will look back and say, everything I endured was worth it. God is not refining you for temporary relief. God is refining you for lasting transformation. There is a difference between relief and deliverance. Relief helps you breathe again. Deliverance changes your entire direction, and God is preparing deliverance. Some of you have been wrestling battles in your mind, thoughts that whisper lies, fears that distort your vision, voices that try to convince you that you are not enough. But hear this, God is about to quiet the storm inside your mind. God is about to silence the voices that do not belong to you. God is about to restore your inner peace. You will wake with a calm that has no earthly explanation. You will experience moments of stillness that could only come from heaven. That is help. Mental peace is help. Emotional stability is help. Inner clarity is help. And God is sending all of it. There is also someone who feels their mistakes have disqualified them from a better future. You think your past is too messy, your decisions too flawed, your journey too tangled for anything beautiful to come from it. But God is not limited by your past. God transforms past mistakes into future wisdom. God turns failures into stepping stones. God takes what you regret and reshapes it into something that strengthens you. The help God sends does not bypass your past. It redeems it. It uses it. It turns it into something useful, powerful, and meaningful. The help you've been praying for is not weak help. It is not temporary help. It is not shaky or uncertain help. It is help that comes from the Creator of all things. Help that cannot fail and help that cannot be stopped. Help that cannot be delayed once the appointed moment arrives, will meet you with a force you cannot stop. And when that help descends into your life, it will lift you in ways that feel supernatural because they are. It will open doors you once assumed were sealed shut. It will renew opportunities you thought were gone forever. It will strengthen you in a way that makes you look back at the person you used to be and say, I didn't even know God was preparing me for this. Your heart is not too damaged for God to heal. Your dreams are not too shattered for God to rebuild. Your strength is not too emptied for God to restore. Your future is not too unclear for God to direct. You are not too lost for God to find. You are not too flawed for God to bless. You are not too weary for God to carry. God knows it's painful. God knows the depth of what you're facing. And God is preparing help so powerful, so intentional, so perfectly timed that when it arrives, you will know without a doubt that it came from Him. You may not see the signs yet, but they are forming. You may not feel the shift yet, but it is unfolding. You may not understand the timing, but you are standing in the final stretch before the breakthrough. The pressure is rising because the blessing is approaching. The enemy is pushing harder because the help is drawing closer. The nights feel longer because the dawn is almost here, and the struggle feels heavier because a new season is about to open in your life. Hold your ground. Hold your faith. Hold your spirit steady. God is not finished. God is not distant. God is not silent. God is preparing a turnaround so profound that it will touch every corner of your life. And when the help arrives, you will finally understand why the journey was so demanding, why the waiting felt endless, and why you had to walk through what you walked through. Because what God is about to send will not just lift you, it will transform you. And once it comes, nothing in your life will ever be the same again. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when you can no longer sit quietly in your struggle, when you can no longer pretend that the weight isn't heavy, when you can no longer move through life on autopilot. There comes a moment when you must look inward and admit, I need God more than ever. And that moment is not a moment of weakness. It is the moment your strength begins. Because the very instant you turn your heart toward God with complete honesty, something powerful happens. God meets you where your strength ends and pours His power into the space you cannot fill on your own. God steps into the places where your courage trembles and fills those places with a resolve no trial can shake. So right now, let your heart soften. Let your guard come down. Let your resistance fade. Stop pretending you don't need help. Stop pretending you're fine when your soul is exhausted. Stop carrying a weight that God never asked you to carry alone. Lift your eyes, lift your voice, lift your spirit, and call on the one who has been waiting to lift you. God is not distant. God is not silent. God is not hesitant. God is standing right beside you, ready to breathe strength into your weakness, hope into your fear, and peace into your chaos. But you must make room for Him. You must open your heart. You must choose to trust, even when the ground beneath you feels unsteady. Let this be the moment you return your soul to the one who shaped it. Let this be the moment you release the fear that has been gripping your spirit. Let this be the moment you declare with your whole heart that you refuse to walk through another day relying only on your own strength. Choose to walk with God. Choose to lean on God. Choose to surrender your plans, your battles, your doubts, your burdens, and your future into the hands of the one who already knows how your story unfolds. Choose to believe that God sees what you cannot see, knows what you do not know, and holds what you cannot control. And as you do, let a new courage rise within you. Let a deeper faith awaken. Let a calm confidence settle over you, knowing that you are not abandoned, not overlooked, not forgotten. God has been with you in every step, every tear, every sleepless night. God has carried you through storms you never told anyone about. God has held your heart through battles that left you trembling. And now God is calling you to rise, to stand, to walk forward with a renewed spirit, to trust Him with everything you are and everything you hope to become. Take this moment seriously. Examine your heart. Look at your life with honesty. Ask yourself what you need to release, what you need to change, what you need to surrender so God can move freely in your life. Let go of bitterness. Let go of fear. Let go of doubt. Let go of the belief that you must handle everything alone. Let your spirit step into alignment with God, Because when you stand in that alignment, nothing can break you, nothing can steal your peace, and nothing can stop the help that God is already sending. And so I challenge you now, stand firm, breathe deeply, and lift your spirit toward God with boldness and sincerity. Call on Him with everything inside you. Trust Him with everything that weighs you down. Honor Him with every step you take from this moment on. Let your life be a testimony of what God can do with a willing heart, a surrendered spirit, and a faith that refuses to bow to fear. Walk forward, knowing that God sees you, God hears you, God strengthens you, God lifts you, God protects you, and God in His perfect wisdom and timing sends help that transforms your life from the inside out. Let this truth settle into your soul, anchor your spirit, and ignite a fire within you that no struggle can extinguish. For when you hold on to God with your whole heart, you walk with a strength that cannot be shaken, a peace that cannot be stolen, and a hope that nothing in this world can take away.